let me start, Anthony, by thanking you for taking the time from your crazy schedule. When Anthony and I were sort of just doing the last little briefing and prepping and thinking about our time together was, what, 3 or 4 days ago, and you were not in this state. You were down in Florida following one of your passions. What was that?
Well, sort of in the paper now, but I put a bid in yesterday to buy a piece of the Mets and their sports broadcaster. So
Hang on one second. Let's get the mic action going. Can one of the guys come help us? I don't hear you making any noise. That was good.
better? Better now?
Okay, so
better
thanks.
now.
So, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was down in Port St. Lucie. This is an off-the-record speech, right? I know it's being recorded. The team looks terrible, by the way.
Speak
You guys are Met fans, we should say another prayer. The team looks terrible, but that's okay. I grew up near Shea Stadium. I can still remember as a kid, I had a paper out, and I would collect the papers on Wednesday, and the Mets usually had a day game on a Wednesday or Thursday, and I would take the Long Island Railroad to Shea Stadium and keep score of the game. So now it's 30 plus years later, and there's an opportunity to potentially own a piece of the team. So I'm a little crazy, and Jim McCann, the founder of 100 Flowers, dear friend of mine, and a client of Skybridge, and a client of mine actually going back to Goldman Sachs, who's going to team up with me and a group of guys. And Michael Milken is actually advising us on the transaction. So I'm going to know at 12 o'clock whether we go to the next round. But that's where I was when you and I were speaking.
That's terrific. That's terrific. But what he didn't say, and a big part of your life, is Anthony's a pretty generous guy as well as the hard-driving business guy. You were there with your children and a dozen or so of their friends treating them to a spring training.
Well, I lost a couple of friends in the tragedy that we all, in 9/11. Actually, I'm sure Greenwich was hit and other surrounding towns, but the town of Manhasset lost 40 men, no women, but there were 26 cars left at the Manhasset Railroad Station on the evening of September 11th that hadn't been picked up by the families. So here are men that went to work in a suit and tie, and they were defenselessly murdered. So when you think about that, in the context of that, and I would say there were probably 71 children in our town that were left without a dad at that time, and ranging in age from newborns, 20 plus years old. But my closest friend that died in that tragedy was a gentleman named Chris Quackenbush. I don't know, some of the people here will probably remember Chris. And I actually wrote about Chris in my book. And he is the real reason why I wrote that book, because I was on one of those trips. I made a commitment to a group of these kids. I'd take them to spring training. I took them to the Yankee All-Star, the last All-Star in the Yankee
So you're an ecumenical kind of a guy.
It was the All-Star game. I don't hate the Yankees.
But the Giants are more of these just for you today.
I actually think the Yankees have some world-class players on the team. And you want to talk about like decent people. Derek Jeter does an enormous amount for young children. Actually, they're a great group of guys. When you're a kid, I have to confess, I did hate the Yankees. Now, I've sort of outgrown it a tiny bit.
You merely respect them.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, though. I went to Game 6 of the 2009 World Series with my 11-year-old. And you have to just imagine, as a Met fan, the Yankees are playing the Phillies. You want to talk about a moral dilemma. Who are you rooting for? My son's looking at me, Dad, who are we rooting for? I said, we're New Yorkers, we're going to root for the Yankees. But somehow, both of us walked out of that stadium with our heads hanging low.
So a bit of a baseball fan for sure. But before we start talking about some of the business things, position for somebody you're growing up. You grew up as, you're sort of this curious guy. Your book, by the way, thank you for your generosity. All of you have given a gift to this. So I want to thank you.
I bought the book, so I figured, why should we break that tradition?
Well, and it's a bestseller. Your mom bought how many thousands of copies?
I shouldn't say that. My mom bought one on Amazon off my sister's computer. Using my sister's credit card.
She's an investor. But truth be told, so Jerry introduces us. We're at Jeff Sonnenfeld's CEO Summit. I think it was June of a year ago. We had a short, brief conversation. Jerry said, "Hey, this guy could fit for our crowd, and bring him up." And so we met, and then I picked up the book and read it. And I have to tell you, I started the title, and what's the subtitle? Something about finding your fortune without losing your soul. And Goodbye, Gordon Gekko. My first one, another one of these 7-step how-to books written by someone who's just talking about themselves the whole time. And I came away just captivated by the book. Your ability to laugh at yourself, your ability to tell...
a lot of funny material.
and yet through it to find wisdom and lessons. So it's seldom that I really get jazzed up about a book like this, and I want to thank you for that. You describe yourself in part as Bud Fox and in part as Ferris Bueller. Now, which are you today?
Don't I look a little bit like Ferris Bueller? I got away with a lot.
Because you were a bit of a wise guy growing up, weren't you?
A little bit. I had more hairspray than most of the women in this room. I was wearing a lot of gold around my neck.
So just a bit of a little Italian lineage there with the mooch, right?
I
Yeah, tell us your story.
I grew up